This is Join Us in France, episode 210. Bonjour, I'm Annie, and Join Us in France is the podcast where we talk about France, its many quirks, its history, its language, and of course, destinations in France you'll want to learn about because hopefully you'll be visiting soon. But on today's episode, we'll talk about 6 miscellaneous grievances about Paris from our unhappy, unnamed young couple who were visiting Paris recently for the first time. Plus one more that's not a grievance, but more of something you should know about. The first part of my remarks on grievances from this person was episode 209, which aired last week, where mostly her grievances had to do with food, but she also had a few extras, just to top it all up. This couple had heard such great things. They were in love with Paris before they got to Paris. She even majored in French. But alas, Paris was all sorely disappointing and really grating and really hard to take. Her words. I will make light of a few things, of course, but if you've never been to a big city like Paris, let this be a warning to you. You need to know about a few things. After listening to this episode, you might want to listen to episode 194 called Dicey Paris Neighborhoods. This couple chose to stay at République. She insisted when we were messaging back and forth that was perfectly fine. She asked me to stop saying that was a poor choice. But I will keep on saying it. Have you been to République? It's like the pressure cooker of Paris. This is where they hold demonstrations of all sorts, where there are lots of homeless people, lots of low-income people, lots of unrest, over anything and everything. It's also a major transportation hub. It's busy and grimy, and it goes between, grungy and scary and completely drunk at times, depending on the hour. What it is never is classy. So, I know French people who live there, and they manage just fine. But it's not for visitors, especially young, unworldly ones. And I explained all of that in episode 194, so just listen to that. But this is episode 210, and show notes for this episode and a few photos too are on joinusinfrance.com/210. Join Us in France is brought to you by Patreon supporters and Addicted to France, the small group tour company for people who want to enjoy France to the fullest with a couple of goofy locals, yours truly and Elise at their side. We have a Dordogne tour planned for September 2019 right now, and you can only buy it until December 26, 2018, so check it out on addictedtofrance.com. So for this young couple, Paris was really a hardship because, number one, no data. It sucks when you don't have data on your phone, especially for young people who are completely lost without it. Apparently, our lovely young couple had asked their phone provider in the US about data while in France. They were told they'd get it for free. Really? For free? But alas, it wasn't the case. They were stuck with a phone with no data. I think there must have been a misunderstanding there along the way, because American cell phone providers don't give you free data while in France. None of them do, as far as I know. So, no data is bad, but it's not Paris's fault, is it? And Paris to the rescue! In Paris, there is free Wi-Fi anywhere you have a public park. And there are lots of fenced public parks all over the city. These are parks that have opening and closing hours. They are fenced. They have a custodian. When the custodian arrives in the morning, he or she turns on the Wi-Fi and then turns it off at night when the park closes. Why do they turn it off at night? To discourage homeless people from congregating around public parks. But if you go during daylight hours, You can sit on a bench, search for Wi-Fi with your phone, and you will find at least one option that's open for all to use. It's not very secure, but it's fine if you're just searching for, restaurants or, checking out websites for the Louvre or the Join Us in France travel podcast website or what have you. Also, presumably, your hotel has Wi-Fi. I've never had great Wi-Fi at a hotel, but they all have something by now. Now, this couple stayed at an Airbnb, which she said repeatedly that it was so great. Maybe it didn't have Wi-Fi? In my book, that makes it not so good. Grievance number 2, and I quote, "Also, it's a fact that Paris is filled with smoke, pollution, and the smell of pee." Close quote. Paris used to be a lot more polluted than it is today, but yes, it's a big city. It has pollution issues. No worse than any large cities anywhere in Europe or in the US, but there's no denying it. There are bad air days. Smoke? She means cigarette smoke here. And yes, French people smoke a lot more than Americans. It's a terrible public health issue. If you can't stand the smell of smoke, stay away from France for the next 20 years. Nobody in my family smokes. We're doing our part. Pee? Yes. France has a problem with some men thinking it's okay to relieve themselves wherever they feel like it. That used to be a much bigger problem than it is today. You do not smell pee in central Paris anymore unless you go down into some parts of the metro. The northeast quadrant of Paris, where she was staying with all the homeless people and all the drunken parties, yes, there is smell of pee everywhere. Number 3, breaking big euro bills. Now, this is someone on the Facebook group, not the same person, asked if it's going to be a problem using 500 euro bills in Paris. They wanted to be proactive. They ordered 3,000 euros in cash, and their US bank gave them 6 500 euro bills. This was not a grievance about Paris at all, and this person didn't blame Paris, had a really good attitude. But I'm including it here because I didn't know where else to fit it, and it does need to be said. The whole point of carrying cash is to pay for small purchases. Who pays for a small purchase with a 500 euro bill? Maybe your bank thought that you'd be buying large amounts of weed on Paris streets and you needed that sort of denomination? I'm just kidding. But really, any bigger than 50 euros is not well received. There are signs everywhere saying we don't accept 200 and 500 bills. I guess you could pay your hotel bill with your 500 euro bills. But then why did you take the risk of carrying cash at all? Because hotels take credit cards. So here's how I recommend you get cash for Paris. You go to an ATM at the airport in Paris. When you arrive in Paris, find an ATM. We have them. They're all over the city too. And some ATMs will let you specify the denominations that you want. So if you don't want bigger bills, you can withdraw 90 euros. That way you'll get, a 50 and two 20s, or a 50 and a 20 and two 10s or something. Bigger than 50 euro bills are not convenient for most cash transactions. And just like in the US, they don't have to take your big bills. And they don't have to take your bag full of pennies either. As your trip ends, use your euro coins here and there, Don't save them all for the last meal in Paris, or you will get an annoyed waiter. Another one. Number 4, asking for change. Back to our young couple. She reports that, she was dealing with a rude waiter, and then she asked him to break a 5 euro note for her. Then the rudeness escalated. If you're having an unpleasant experience with a waiter, why do you ask him to do you a favor and break a 5 for you? That's just lack of common sense. You want to break a 5 euro note? Go into a grocery store. Buy the cheapest thing there. That's how I do it, both in France and in America. Waiters are not under any obligation to break bills for you. You can ask and they'll probably say yes if you had a good rapport, but they may say no if they don't like you, or if they don't have change themselves, or if they're short on change. I mean, they're not going to, give you their last 5 coins and then have to run to the bank. Duh. And they don't have to take your bag of pennies either. This is no different than in America, right? Okay, number 5. For number 5, I'll quote her because it says so much. Open quote. When we would go into a bakery, they acted like we needed to know what we wanted before we even walked in and acted really annoyed when we didn't know literally right away. They would just ask the person behind us what they wanted, and all these people would be going in front of us where we couldn't even see what they had and look at it in order to decide. Close quote. No, they did not expect you to know what you want before you go in. That's a huge exaggeration. But they don't want you to hold up the line either. Imagine you're not in Paris. You're at a deli in New York City. It's lunchtime, there's a line. Would they serve the next person in line while you make your choice? Yes, of course they would. Why would it be any different in Paris? If you live in a place that never has crowds or lines, you're not used to this. But it's a reality. In any big city, in any country, hurry up or get out of the way. That's just how it works. It's a big city. If you need more time, either be gracious about letting other people go ahead of you or go into a bakery where there's no line. We have hundreds of bakeries in Paris. Lots of them have no lines. So choose those, right? Number 6, and I quote again. Paris is not convenient for drinking water or using the toilet. It's just a fact. Close quote. It is true that when you are traveling, you don't have as much access to bathrooms or drinking fountains as when you're home or at work. I will grant you that. But people manage by using the facilities at museums and at restaurants. And she knew that. She even wrote it. But somehow, that wasn't enough. You're young, sister. Wait until you get to be my age. I quote again, in 10 days of actively sightseeing all over the city, I only came across 1 free toilet and 2 toilets that you pay for. Close quote. But who's counting? I was in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, and we did the usual museum run. We walked all over the city, we took the metro, we visited stuff. And guess what? I didn't run into free toilets at every street corner in Washington, D.C. either. Come to think of it, the only place you can pee in Washington, D.C. is at restaurants or at museums. Shocking. This comes with the territory when you travel anywhere, not just in Paris. But this is something that people like to complain about in Paris. It's like a meme, It's something that people like to repeat. Whether it's true or not, they like to say it. So they say it's not enough bathrooms. So let me set the record straight. There are 150 sanisettes in Paris. Sanisettes are the free self-cleaning toilets that look like oval, I'll put a picture on the show notes. I don't love them, but they get the job done. And they are clean. They're wet, but they're clean. There are also a lot of public bathrooms here and there where you have to pay €1 or 2 to use the facility. Do I like to pay to use the bathroom? No. Everybody raise their hand who doesn't want to clean public bathrooms for free. What? Nobody volunteers to be an unpaid bathroom cleaner? I'm shocked. Then I have something to explain to you. Tough it up and pay the €1. I'll put a map of all the public bathrooms in Paris in the show notes for this episode. Join us in France.com/210. There's a ton of them. Of course, if you need a bathroom right this minute, knowing that there are bathrooms somewhere else won't help you. But when doing the tourist thing, most people know to use the bathroom when they stop for a meal or at museums. And then in Paris, there are cafes everywhere. Go to the counter, order a drink, head to the bathroom, go back to the counter, drink your thing, pay, business done in less than 5 minutes. And there's an app called Toilets in Paris too. It will guide you to the nearest public bathroom. Oh, but you didn't have data. Anyway, I've never used it, but it gets good reviews and it's been around a long time. As a rule, in France, you will find public bathrooms at shopping centers, anywhere they serve food, tourist attractions, and train stations. I know it's annoying. You don't know exactly where the bathrooms are. You have to look for them. It puts you outside of your comfort zone. But such is the life of a traveler. Let's move on to the water. Where do you find water to drink in Paris? Apparently this was a problem for them. Again, I'll provide a map that I found on the same site as the one for the bathrooms. It's called eutouring.com. It has a lot of data stuff like this. With that map, you can see that Paris is littered with drinking fountains. They're everywhere. Wallace fountains even make it really stylish to fill up your water bottle. But if that's not enough, you can also fill up your water at any bathroom you use, at any restaurant or cafe or museum. What you cannot do is ask waiters to fill your water bottle for you, because that's not their job. The water in the bathroom is just as good as the water in the kitchen. It's the same water, coming from the same pipes. You can fill up there. It's completely safe. And no, you don't need to buy a new water bottle every hour, because that was her argument, that Paris is, super bad for the environment because you have to keep buying water bottle. What? Just save the one you have and fill it up again in any bathroom. Or bring your own water bottle. I don't care. Number 7, and this is the last one of the list. This person explains that 5 out of 6 places where she asked to take her leftovers with her, they gave her a to-go box. There was no problem. Those were fast food type places that sell food to go, so they have the boxes, right? One place, a touristy restaurant, didn't have to-go boxes, and so they couldn't give her one, and she was upset about that. So, in general, sit-down restaurants in France don't stock to-go boxes. Why would they? They are a sit-down restaurant, not a kebab place, not a burger place. Also, they don't serve you portions like the Cheesecake Factory, so most people eat the whole thing in one meal. So, if they have something for you to put your leftovers into, great. Be thankful. If they don't, maybe consider thinking, well, I'm in France, I'm not in America. Not everything has to be the same. So in conclusion, I was going to end with her last paragraph, which summarizes all the things she hated about Paris. But it was really dripping with judgment, and it would force me to say things I would regret. So I will just let it go. Somebody on the group said, don't respond to any of this. This is a troll. Well, I don't think she was a troll. And if she was, she certainly didn't behave like one. She went away, never to be heard from again. She didn't say anything rude to me directly. She didn't attack me, which has happened on other occasions and for much less. So I think this person was certain that she knew a lot more about Paris than she really did. And that's never a good thing. This is exactly the kind of person I produce this podcast for. People who love France, but they don't know it in every detail. They think they know, but maybe not quite. So just listening will change their expectations, and they'll be prepared, and they'll have a good time. Remember, happiness is all about the difference between expectations and reality. Shout out to my friend Roz. Unrealistic expectations make for a terrible vacation. And some people are not meant for travel. They should just stay home. Stay in your home country. It has none of these terrible flaws. But for those of you who want to travel and enjoy Paris, here's a recap of today's tips. Pay for data. It's never free, as far as I know, but for most people, it is not something they want to do without. Otherwise, seek out free Wi-Fi signals inside of Paris parks or at your hotel or apartment. Paris is a big city. It is polluted. People smoke. Some idiots pee in the streets. Some people don't even wash enough. What else? Oh, the dog poop. Some people don't pick up their dog poop. These are not the things that I love best about visiting Paris, but it's never ruined a trip for me either. Some parts of Paris are seedy, so are some parts of every big city in the world. Don't stay in those parts. Problem solved. Get your cash from ATM machines when you arrive in Paris, and get bills no bigger than 50 euros if possible. Waiters don't have to break bills for you. As a matter of fact, don't ask anyone to break a bill for you. Buy something with your bill at the grocery store and they'll give you change. When there's a line and you don't know what you want, don't get peeved when they let other people go ahead of you. Consider patronizing establishments where there are no lines if that's not something you can handle emotionally. And when traveling anywhere, use the bathroom and fill up your water bottle at museums and restaurants and cafes. If you need a bathroom break, outside of those moments, buy a drink at a cafe where you can also fill up your water bottle. It's not so complicated, is it? French restaurants don't have to-go boxes unless they sell to-go food. But if they don't have one, let it go. That's it for today's episode. No personal update or new Patreon donors because I'm recording episode 210 the day after I released episode 209. We're going on a long weekend to London and I need to get the episode ready before we leave. If you enjoy the show, please support it. Visit joinusinfrance.com/support to see all the ways you can do just that. I wonder if London has pollution or cigarette smokers. Does it have bathrooms and water fountains that materialize out of nowhere when I need one? Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? One grievance that this person didn't mention, well, actually she missed several of the classic ones, is that there are a lot of pickpockets in Paris. That would have been a fair unpleasantness to mention. See episode 154 about how to protect yourself from pickpockets in Paris. Are there pickpockets in London? I hope I don't find out. I'll talk to you next week with hopefully a fun personal update on London. You watch. I'll complain about London. Nah, I lived in London for 2 years. It's been a long time, but I have some idea of what it's like. I think it's a realistic idea of what it's like. And we do have reasonable plans. Have a great week of trip planning and do not let those who are ill-equipped for life outside of their comfortable surroundings get to you. Travel is for the adventurous and the open-minded, as are 99.9% of you. Au revoir. The Join Us in France Travel Podcast is written and produced by Annie Sargent and copyright 2018 by Addicted to France. It is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.